welcome to part 2 of my Might and Magic VII retrospective. Last time we created a party destined for goodness. We participated in a scavenger hunt, and in the process unleashed a dragonfly-driven genocide on the inhabitants of Emerald Isle, which I think we can all agree is justified when someone's charging 500 gold for a fucking loot. I'm not paying that. We used a fireball wand to melt man and animal alike, found a bunch of tat, and in doing so won ourselves a deed to Castle Harmondale, becoming some weird land baron quartet that everyone's apparently comfortable with. Finally, we found out that our new home is full of goblins. So, first things first, we go to the castle and meet Butler, our butler. He tells us these goblin jerks won't leave, and that we should convince them to. The front door is a pretty good indicator of how shitty it is in here. There are rubbish piles on the floor and rats running around carefree. After killing them and venturing down a corridor, we meet the feckless Egypt claiming squatters' rights in our new house. You might think the goblins are stupid for swinging their sword at the air, but you're the stupid one because they're throwing arrows, dummy. Who am I to say it doesn't make sense for the green men to launch arrows with their swords? My party equipped with bows is more than capable of whittling them away without ever getting into melee, and the addition of Snubbit shooting low mana cost fireballs and the healing Gurdy throws out, these goblins may as well be toddlers. I guess the rats and bats must be the goblins' pets because they hang out like it's no big deal. I rifled through some of the garbage and Gurdy got diseased. And so did Vernon. Sweet Jesus, does Vernon look unwell. If you can go from this to this just by touching a pile of garbage, sign me up for living in one of those bubbles. I found a chest with a letter from some guy called Grognard the Great, who signs his name with an exclamation mark. I wish I was that confident. Okay, so Juliet, I must know when we will meet again, for my heart yearns with the force of 1,000 suns. Ever yours, ROMEO, and why not? Perfect. Okay, so after clearing out the castle, I went and fixed Vernon and identified my findings.
I can't help with that. I don't know.
Pure garbage.
Snubbit is really hard to please for someone wearing the shittiest gear imaginable. I got sick of his negativity, so I went and found an NPC to be my item identifier. While she takes a cut of my money, it means I have more skill points freed up to invest in my magic skills. And that's really important because getting air and water to master rank grants access to Fly and Town Portal. 2 awesome quality of life spells. Then I went to the inn and told Butler I'd fixed the goblin situation, and he said cool, good job, and told me the next thing to do was to go and enlist the dwarves to make my castle not crap anymore. I also got a bunch of experience to level up. Gurdy ended up with some decent chainmail and an okay shield, which was nice because who wants an unconscious cleric? But in general, my guys are still wearing total crap and hitting people with blunt, ugly weapons. Something really interesting to note in Might and Magic VII, as well as other games in the franchise, is that enemies have class or race-based biases. For example, the goblins will ruthlessly attack my dwarf until he's unconscious. I never used to know exactly why certain party members were getting picked on, but if you're finding that a single party member is getting destroyed above all others, it's probably because they're a dwarf, and over a third of the monsters in the game have a deep-seated hatred of them. When I leveled, I put as many points into offensive skills as possible, as I don't tend to face tank enemies and I'd rather they go down before getting the chance to attack. In the long run, wizards tend to need the most skill points, so I usually give them the bulk of the horseshoes I find. A guy in a house told me his relative recently went missing somewhere nearby, so I set off to see if I could help. As we leave the warm embrace of Harmondale, we find a metric assload of goblins besieging the town. Numbers wise, it looks like they could just go in and murder everyone. I mean, they were hauled up in our castle with their animal army, and they outnumber the guards somewhere in the order of 15 to 1. Shit'll get off the pot, goblins. It's too late now since I'm here to rip them apart like that scene in The Matrix when it was still pretty interesting. I'm pretty sure Sir Dwayne was in that too. It took me a good while, but I just walked around the map and killed any goblins I could see. The fact they can throw arrows means that the goblin lords are actually pretty serious and knocked my guys out a few times. In the process of culling the goblin population, I found a nice little riverside shack property, and met the arbiter, Judge Grey. He's a cool guy. His job is to keep the peace, most notably between the humans of Arathia and the elves of the Tularian Forest. The land of Harmondale is slap bang in between. He basically just reiterates that we need a castle upgrade to be respected. And then I tell him I lost it, and he says, I never had it. Basically, if you drop a quest item anywhere in the world and then talk to him, he'll conjure it up for you. There's even an exploit involving a quest item that's a fancy spell, Divine Intervention, where you can keep dropping it outside of his house and getting him to conjure up a new one, and then selling them. Near the Arbiter's house, I found a narrow path that brought me to a cave. Specifically, the White Cliff Cave that Darren Temper suggested to be the last known location of his brother Elron. Apparently, Archimage is an addicting card game, and Elron, so eager to win, decided to sneak off to a dangerous cave so that he could work on his strategy without the risk of anyone else spying on him. Darren! Come on. We all know that Elron isn't right in the head. You can't just let him go off like that. Upon entering White Cliff Cave, you're met with some troglodytes, who are pretty on par with goblins. Usually I'll just stick to the left-hand side of the cave here because the right-hand side has a number of oozes, which can only be harmed with magic damage and are a total ball ache to kill at this early stage of the game. By the time they're easily manageable, you'll usually be far too important to be here. That said, the strategy if you do want to go to the right side of the cave is just to run around and get all the loot, which is probably worthwhile. Down the left path there's a couple of troglodytes, chests, but then, no, it can't be. Elron? A journal entry. Studies of Archimage. Red cards wall building, blue cards tower building, and green cards offensive. If your opponents play blue cards, you can counter with... With what? Oh god, why Elron? Why did you die for this stupid game? As I walk, I think of Elron. Why was he so paranoid? How intricate can this card game be? Maybe it's the game. Maybe he was just a victim of Archimage. No. It's just a card game. When I return, Darren identifies the cards as Elron's, presumably from the crayon scrawled across them, and tells me that I can have them. And that's Harmondale cleaned up. Now I should probably go do something like visit Arathia. Maybe first I'll go to the inn. Okay, so what have we got here? Some red ones, blue ones. I guess I want to build up my tower. Let's go for emerald. +4 wall, eh? 4 damage. Oh, I've got no wall, so -6 wall for +11 tower. Sounds like a good deal. I need more. Tougher opponents. Next time more Archimage. Buy other stuff too, like bandits.